Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 8 of Tower of God. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we have Team A getting their shot against Khun again, in this game of tag. And, well, actually, we're kind of picking up because the game started near the end of last episode. But, despite everything, Khun's kind of got things planned out. And once again, this is one of those episodes that really showcases like how far in advance Khun thinks and plans stuff out. So he's got his own strategy. Obviously, people are meant to kind of keep Quant busy for like 5 minutes. It's like, wait, how long has it been? It's only been like a minute. Like he kind of ripped through a lot of like their frontline defense pretty easily. So, but despite everything, Khun just seems very calm, cool, and collected. It's all about making sure, like, Anak has enough time. Like, she's taking the elevator to the top floor. And Team B is just kind of like, man, because for Team B, it's like, we need them to lose. We need them to lose, because if they lose, that means we have a shot. But if Team A wins, we have no shot. Because obviously a lot of people on that team, like, Lauro is, like, sleep. Because, wait, he doesn't need to actually do anything because he's already passed. But same thing for Shibisu, but later on, Quant's like, honestly, I appreciate that. You're already guaranteed the pass, but you're fighting so hard for your friends. You know, he's like, I admire that a lot. But I just love it. Shibisu is like, oh, that little redhead, and the other two are looking. He's like, what? Do you guys really do you have that low of expectations for me? And it's just like, and he's like, who are you calling little redhead? He's like, oh, you snuck up on me. I didn't know you snuck up on me like that, master. And he's just like rubbing his shoulders and stuff like that. But even to the point saying that I love that line of, make it to the top win over my dead body, Anak. You know, so. But, because, I mean, there's not much, and even with his limited Shinsu, there's not much anyone can do, because he just quite easily disposes without having to do too much crazy stuff. I'm assuming, like, his fast movements and stuff like that, or I don't know if that's just, like, his natural ability, because he does dispense some of his Shinsu, but I think that allows him to kind of, like, move super fast and stuff like that, completely catch people off guard. I even love him being kind of in teacher mode, and it's like, okay, here's a special lesson, you know. How like a scout's meant to kind of go forth and kind of get a lay of the lands, but how does a scout like not get completely overwhelmed, you know? It's kind of like, what's his whole point? So I was like, oh, I guess that's his position as his positioning as a scout. So I think that's what he was kind of implying at the very least. But obviously it's a combination of different things. I really quickly going back, I do love that Quant's like, oh, that was so good. You takes you guys being bold, and Chibiso's like, oh, are you trying to keep yourself calm? And it's like, Ha Sung-yu is like, oh, he's just pretending. Lero is like, but I appreciate him putting forth the effort to not get completely pissed. He's trying to keep some level of professionalism, and I love it. But Anak is making her way to the bridge, but it's like, right, there's only so far she can get before Quant catches up with them. Apparently the badge can't be copied because there's Shinsu that made it, or at least, like, so, like, I guess Shinsu would prevent the badge from being able to completely copy it, or whatever the case may be. And they didn't really go into details about what that meant necessarily about the Shinsu, prevents it from kind of being copied or whatnot, so. Because Lero, multiple times throughout, you know, even he kind of gets caught off guard multiple times because he thinks like, oh, this is over. But Rock is immediately like, nah, don't underestimate the blue turtle. He's got some kind of plan. He always comes through. But I love that, like, the entire time Rock and Home Dude are like, and I like that too. He's the quiet giant, and yet he's the same way. Like, he's like, give me more, just like Rock. And they're just both like shoveling it down their faces. Like, there's a lot of commonality between. I honestly tell you, I don't remember that thing's deal at all. Like, I don't even remember that thing from later on. I'm not saying like, oh, it gets killed or something, or it loses. Like, I just don't remember that whole thing, that thing's deal. Maybe it comes back up much later in the story. That's a problem with like having some memory of things. Like him and all like other people, I remember where they end up in later parts of the story. I don't remember him. Once again, isn't saying like, oh, he dies or something. I just legitimately don't even remember what happens to him. I remember some of this, but beyond that, like I don't remember a thing. I did like that when Quant does catch up, Khun's there, like, oh hey, yeah. So the fact is that yeah, she jumped down there. She's using her Shinsu to kind of protect herself so that, after her fight with Vendrosi, it's like she wasn't willing to take that chance again. So this time, like, she's down there running down there in the dark, which Quant was immediately like, nah, you copied your lighthouse, didn't you? So he was trying to force Khun's hand, because it's like, right, the moment and it drags him off, it's like, right, now, like, you're gonna come fall with me. So what are you gonna do? Like, if you fall, like, what's gonna happen to that lighthouse that she's on and stuff? But once again, Khun being the strategy is, he has Green April wrapped around his hand, so as he's falling, it's yanking a knock up as a pulley system. And then Quant's like, what? Because he does have a limited amount of Shinsu, and so Khun kind of accounted for that, calculated that, and knew that if he fell down there, he wouldn't have the supply of Shinsu left to like immediately jump back up there on his own. So he'd have to take the very long way around, but by then the knock would have already kind of reached the goal. So it's kind of checkmate, he's already won. But Hansung Yu has said, once again, you're jumping to a lot of conclusions thinking that it's already over. And then this is where things get interesting, this is what I remembered about Khun's plan. It's like, right, at the bottom, there's a reason why Lauro was meant to sleep at the bottom at the start line. Like, he's just making it seem like, oh, that was just like Lauro's laziness. It's like, nah, like he was already guaranteed to pass regardless, win or lose. Quite a few people on that team were. But when it was all said and done, Khun and Lauro gave him the boost because of Lauro being the wave controller. He uses his Shinsu to send him flying, and he ends up catching up with a knock and taking her badge. So they lose, and so no one else caught on to the strategy. And Khun even playing, once again, being the massive manipulator that he is. But it comes from a good place of why he's manipulating them. It is kind of like a betrayal, but at the same time, it's like, no, he's looking after his team. He's making sure that he knew that the certain people on his friends would be passed. So, like, he made sure, like, yeah, not everyone was going to pass. It's like some people had to fail to make sure his friends passed, that Team B had a shot. So, Khun, planned this all out, but he's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't account for a ranker's power and stuff, like, oh, I'm such a failure. But then it's like, they're like, nah, Khun, you did. There's no way Team B would come up with a strategy, but it's like, right, he concocted all of this because he wanted to showcase the best way to handle this. He gave Team B a view on like how to deal with Quant, and he did all of it just to make sure, especially Bomb, but the rest of his friends could pass as well, and it's like, once again, showing you like that heart that only cared about manipulating and using people just for his own benefit is now looking out for other people's benefit. Once again, he still kind of screwed over certain members of his team, but his real team is going to be moving forward. He's trying to make sure that they all do, including everyone that's on Team B. So, I think that's just kind of an interest. I love that whole element because I think this is one of those. For one, like I said, it showcases Khun's thinking that he thought this far ahead. He planned things out this far ahead, but also showing you like how like caring he can be when it comes to people. Like, how he's not just a cold-hearted person he kind of started off as. That there is thought put behind what he does, not just like, oh, what's better for me. It's like, no, this is kind of better for everyone to a certain extent, So, like I said, still kind of screwed over the members of his team, but once again, this is his squad. He's looking after his squad. And I think that's an interesting and important thing to note because of the way and certain aspects. Whole story last episode, which I didn't talk about, which I'm going to talk about now because it coincides with like Serena's story. It was like, right, why, the way the tower is designed and everything versus, because The tower is designed for you to constantly be in competition. No, like helping each other, friendship, ew, gross. Get that out of my face when we're climbing the tower. It means nothing because it's meant to divide you. You're meant to go against each other. Like only, like it's a kill or be killed type of thing. And so looking out for people climbing the tower, that's not really the, it's like, helping other people like that, it's kind of like, wow, really? Because a lot of other people have the mentality of like, especially like Cole's definitely got that mentality, because it seems like from what his story, once again, we didn't, what we saw last episode, it seemed like people's horns were getting collected, so maybe like his people are hunted for their horns, and he watched maybe family and friends get hunted and killed for theirs, so it's like, it's showcasing like everyone comes from very desperate backgrounds trying to get to the top of the tower, and because of that desperation, they're willing to do whatever it takes to make it to the top, including like stab whoever they have to in the back. So for like Serena talks about it a little bit. She's like, I don't know if I could kill a friend now. She's like, in the beginning, like I was what you'd consider a cat burglar, and one day, like during a job, like when her and her team and her pals or friends were stealing something, a ranker came and slaughtered all of her friends. And just before the ranker could get to her, Hedon popped up and offered her this chance. So she was willing to do whatever it takes to climb the tower. It's like, because she can't go back to that life. She hasn't kind of like, these are people who kind of have next to nothing left. And maybe that's the whole point of it too. People who are desperate, who, it's kind of like the, because that's going to motivate people more. It's going to make the competition that much more interesting. Like there have to be some desperation inside of you to climb the tower. And everyone kind of has that. Like, whether it's Rock looking for stronger opponents, maybe there's something deeper to that. Khun's circumstances of why he wants to climb. Bomb's reasons for climbing. Like everyone's climbing for their own desperate reason. Even Anak climbing for revenge, So it's that type of thing. And I think these past few episodes really opened that up about just kind of like, that isn't just like everyone's got their cheer. It's like, no, like everyone's got their like desperate and dark past that is the reason why they're trying to climb this tower, And I did think it was sweet when Bomb celebrated when he thought like Team A had won, and the entirety of Team B's looking at him like, why are you cheering for him? He's like, sorry, because he was so excited. He's like, oh my god, Khun! Oh, right, I shouldn't be celebrating for the quote-unquote enemy. Sorry, But obviously you can also tell Indrasi's annoyed because it's like all he's ever focused on. It's like, right, instead of like, it's just kind of like, it's so annoying. It's like, you're so focused on Michelle because, like, right, if she doesn't do something, she won't be able to climb, right? She won't have enough points to pass, which I think that makes him feel a little conflicted because there's part of him is like, well, if she fails, that means we can just go back. But at the same time, it's like he knows how important reaching the stars are. Like, seeing the sky, being in the stars, like how much that matters to her. So I think those conflicted feelings in Bomb right now because, like, yeah, if she fails, then maybe we could just go back. But this is so important to her, and I don't, I think Baum is kind of deciding what he wants to do. These are those moments where he's kind of trying to figure out what he wants to do. Because his main reason for climbing the tower was always Rachel. Now that he knows where she is, even though she wants to keep climbing, it's like she might not be able to keep climbing at this rate. So what's he going to do? Like, what is she going to do? But like I said, you could just tell it pisses Indrasi off because it's like, right, he's doing all this for you and you're just you're pushing him away, you're keeping him in the dark. I think it's also because Indrasi's someone who can't have someone like that as a princess. It comes with its own thing. Because even one of the dudes is like, oh, this team is pretty worthless. This is supposed to be pretty balanced, right? But we got a whole bunch of losers. I mean, except for you, princess. But then she's kind of like, if you say so. And she's kind of looking at Bomb because I think they put Bomb on Team B because, like, it legitimately balances the scale a lot more than people realize. But still, regardless of all of that, it does, like I said, I think Andrasi's just looking at it like, I wish I, someone that desperate and that caring that much for me, willing to do so much for me, and you're just kind of throwing it away. Like, you're so busy trying to reach the top of the tower, because not everyone, like, for a lot, once again, other people have their very desperate reasons. Not saying that her reasons aren't her own, like, everyone has their own reasons for climbing, but I think for some, it's just kind of like, I don't know what could be so important. You have something and someone waiting for you. Like, once again, the statement she made last episode, I hope whatever's waiting, you're trying to get at the top of the tower is more important than he is. Because the fact is he's having, that means you have something. Because a lot of people at this tower climbing this tower have nothing. That's why they're trying to do it. But you have something waiting for you at the very least. So, I think that's kind of like, you know, that element is peeking through. But still, we don't quite know what it is that Andrasi has planned. But we see her kind of getting her plans kind of in place at the very end of the episode. She's like, right, this is all going according to plan. Also, Quant, because he's so pissed at Khun, is like, you know what, screw that bastard. His plans aren't going to go. He wants to help out Team B, so he helped me out. Nah, like, he's very short-tempered, and he's going to go all out just to basically stick it to Khun, you know, flip him to bird, just to be like, nah, things aren't going to go your way, you like, smarmy bastard, you know, so... very interested to see the continuation of this game of tag. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.